you're from Italy. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just trying to check the comments here. This is usually my daughter-in-law, Jessie, does that for me. So, okay. So Anna, you're from Italy. I know Regina, you're up in New England. And Heather, you're here in Pennsylvania. And wonderful. Okay, so you can hear me and you can see me. So Regina, I'm thinking it's maybe something on your end there. So see if you can stop and then come back in. So, all right. So anyway, welcome to the third Tea with Kathleen. I'm so thankful that you're here. I'm excited for what I have to share with you today. Some of the thoughts that I'm sharing today are things that I just know so many of us deal with. So I'm excited to encourage you in that. So today I want to remind you that this is where we take life sip by sip rather than gulp by gulp. What do I mean by that? I mean that life comes at us hard and fast, and we have to sometimes feel like we're gulping, like a fire hose is coming at us. And this time right here is time for us to just take a breath, slow down, and do life sip by sip, at least for this short period of time. It's even better if you can get in the habit of establishing that in your life on a regular basis. There are times when we have to take life gulp by gulp, but we don't have to do it all the time. We don't have to make it a constant thing in our lives. All right. So, great. Okay, just checking the comments. Again, there's a 15 to 20 second delay. So when I ask a couple questions, I'll have to just kind of pop over and check here. So I'm mastering this. I've determined, even though I don't have my helper today, I have my Stress Away and my Magnify Your Purpose oils. So I applied those liberally before I started, and I have my iced tea today. What kind of tea are you ladies drinking? Did you stop and prepare some tea? This is a favorite in our household. This is a ginger peach decaf tea that I make for the summertime. We can drink it at any time of the day, so even if we want to have it with dinner, we're not going to have that caffeine interrupting at least my sleep. It doesn't interrupt the prince at all. And I sweeten it with organic coconut palm sugar, which has a lower glycemic index, and your body breaks it down differently than regular sugar. Sometimes I'll use honey, but the coconut palm sugar is my favorite. Regina, you're drinking water with fresh chocolate mint. Ooh, that sounds wonderful. And Heather, green tea. Ooh, excellent. Excellent. Okay, so before I start, as I do every time, I just like to ask God to bless our time and declare blessing on you ladies and gentlemen, if there's any men joining us. So if we could just take a minute or just a few seconds and do that. So Lord, we thank you and praise you for this wonderful time. I ask your blessing on our time together, and for every single person that's connecting here today, I just ask that you would bless them exceedingly abundantly, above and beyond what they could possibly imagine. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so I want to remind you that the reason I'm doing this is because my passion is to help you live the life that you dream of, to help you to overcome the obstacles and the challenges and the things that we all deal with that keep us from living the best life or becoming all that God created us to be or doing all that we were put here for. Every single one of us has gifts and talents that were placed in us by God that we are to use not only to bless ourselves, but to bless other people. So we can get in our own way quite frequently. I know from experience. So before we get started, just to kind of get in the right mindset, because we're probably, rushing from here and there, I'd like for us to just take a few seconds, close our eyes, take a deep breath in and out. and imagine yourself, maybe today we can imagine ourselves in Italy with Anna on a nice sidewalk, bistro, sipping. I know Italy is more known for their coffee than their tea, so we could be sipping coffee. And we can hear the music and just the laughter, and we're just going to relax and do this sip by sip. So sometimes people think that's silly to take that little moment to do those exercises, but if you spend any time really reading about meditation or quiet times, those things are really helpful. Just taking a few deep breaths and imagining somewhere else, or maybe even where you are, if it's a tranquil place, it really helps to just kind of reset. And it also helps, it's a good practice that will help you to imagine yourself living that dream life that you desire. Sometimes in the midst of the hustle and bustle of every day, it's hard to imagine that. So if we get in the practice of slowing down, closing our eyes, taking those deep breaths, and just envisioning with our imagination a different time, a different place, different circumstances, then we can more easily get there. It's called creating a vision. Anna, you're the only Italian who doesn't like coffee. There's probably a few of you, but that's good to know. So are you a tea drinker? Let's ask that. Okay. So today I'm going to read a page from my book, Facets of Graciousness. It's an inspirational journal. Each page has a quote, some of them have a scripture, and then a place for you to journal your aha moments after you've read and pondered or meditated on what's on that page. So it's a really nice way to just kind of do some self-growth, some check-in, and record your thoughts about that. So today we're going to talk about something that most people have resistance to, myself included, change. And change is necessary for growth. We all know that. It doesn't mean that we like it, right? So, and change specifically, I'm going to relate it to our comfort zone. So first, let me read this. Change is a choice, so we get to choose if we're going to change. And if you want something different, you must change something and do something differently. Change begins with a thought, then you make a decision, which is followed by your words of declaration, which are then followed by your actions. Action is key. If you don't do anything about it, then nothing changes. So what do you need to do today to change something that maybe you're not happy with? Your comfort zone is a comfortable place to stay, right? And something I think most people struggle with at different times in their life. Sometimes it's easy to stretch out of that, and then other times it's not so easy. But what I'd like for you to think about today is that your comfort zone can become a deathbed for your dreams. If you just settle and stay there and not pursue the dreams and goals that your heart desires, then it will eventually put your dreams to death. So I don't think that's what any of us want, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing. So the definition of insanity is, right, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So it's the same thing with our comfort zone. If we get to a place where we're in a comfort zone and we expect that something different is going to happen than what's happening in our comfort zone, then we're probably a little bit crazy, right? Because if we don't do something different to change that comfort zone, then nothing different is going to happen. It's that simple. And that choice is up to us. So, now, Jessie usually puts those, hey Jane, how are you? I'm great today. Hope you're well too. I will, after this, I don't know exactly how to do it quite yet, but I will figure it out. There's a link for this tea and the previous teas to get a printout that's similar to a page in my book where you will have the the page that I just read, and then some lines to write down your thoughts and all. So in the meantime, grab a pen or pencil and a pad. And I think you're probably going to want to take a few notes today because this is life-changing. So let me ask you, first of all, too, about the book. Thank you so much, all of you who've gone on to Kathleen Ellis, lifestyledesign.com, and you've ordered a book or books to share. I so appreciate that. And I get so many wonderful, wonderful comments back from women who have themselves gotten it for themselves, and it's just been such a joy and a life changer. And then they've given it as gifts, and they get reports from their friends that how much they love it. So anyway, if you're interested and you'd like to grab a copy for yourself, or maybe yourself and a friend, KathleenEllisLifestyleDesign.com, and you'll find a tab for Facets of Graciousness. So let me ask you today, or ask yourself today, is where you are now where you want to be in 6 months? Is it where you want to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years? Think about that. So right where you are right now, when you look down the road, 6 months, maybe 6 months is okay. What about 5 years? What about 10 years? Do you want to be in exactly the same place? So most people would say, no, of course not. I don't want to be in the same place. So it's simple. If you don't want to be in the same place, you have to change something, right? So what we need to realize and become comfortable with is that our dreams and goals lie just outside of our comfort zone. Funny thing, right? So they might be this far outside our comfort zone. They might be this far. They might be further. But they are outside our comfort zone. If you've accomplished a dream or a goal and you're kind of settled, we all do that, and we enjoy that place for a while. But then if you want to keep growing and you want to move to the next level, whatever that is for you, then you have to change something, and we have to realize that we have to get out of our comfort zone to do that. So today I'm going to talk about 4 things that keep us in our comfort zone. I'm looking at my notes, like I said, so I don't forget. So 4 things, there are more, but there are 4 things in particular that are kind of fall under the same category. So a lack of vision. So if you don't know where you want to go, then it's easy to stay in that comfort zone. Overwhelm. Okay, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. We're all busy. There's so many things to do. We have families. We have, a lot of us, we have jobs or careers or businesses, and then just life stuff, right? It's keeping up with everything. So overwhelm just with life. And then when we think about stepping out of our comfort zone and going for a new goal or a new dream, it can be overwhelming. And then a lack of faith or confidence, either in ourselves or in what we're dreaming of. We might think, people are going to think it's silly, or maybe we feel like we're not qualified. What will people think? What will people say? And then the 4th thing is fear. So fear is a funny thing, right? It can keep us from so many things. It's false evidence appearing real is one acronym for that. And I would have to say that I agree with that, because oftentimes things that I've been afraid of, even just a little bit, once I do them, I find, gosh, that really wasn't so bad after all. What in the world was I putting that off for? I should have done this sooner. So in the comments, would you please let me know, have you struggled with any one of these things? Have you struggled with fear, with lack of vision, with overwhelm, or lack of faith or confidence in stepping out of your comfort zone to do the next thing that you want to do, your dreams or goals? Let me know what you've struggled with. That would be very helpful. So I'm going to talk about specifically fear, because fear actually covers overwhelm, lack of faith and confidence, and lack of vision. So I'm going to share a few things here out of a course that I'll be releasing in a month or so. I'm putting the finishing touches on, so you'll hear about that down the road sometime. But some of the things that will be in that, we'll be talking about the different types of fear. So I'd like to share those with you today. You've probably encountered one or more of these, and you'll know that you're not alone once I talk about these. So fear of failure. So, yep, fear of failure. A lot of us convince ourselves that we're going to fail before we ever even try. We dream up all these things that could go wrong, that will go wrong, and so on. I don't think I'm the only one that's done that. We think that it's maybe better to fail from not trying than to face humiliation of whatever we're doing not working out, right? So I have a little thing that a shift in mindset that I now look at failure as really just a life experience. It's a way that you figured out doesn't work, right? It's a learning experience. It's a way to grow. I forget how many times Edison had to try the light bulb before it worked. And, multiple other inventors, they try and it fails, and they try and it fails, and so on. So why should we think that we are any different, right? Maybe the first time or second time or 10 times that we try something, maybe it doesn't work out. But if we learn from those experiences, then we know better for making the next round. Then there's fear of lack, okay? A lack of time, money, resources, knowledge. All of those things are fixable, right? You can always manage your time differently so that you have more time. You can manage your money differently. You can manage resources differently. And you can always learn something new, right? Regina, sometimes you have so many visions that it gets overwhelming. Yes, I am right there with you. My mind is constantly clicking with ideas, and I just have to put them all out and sort through them. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Fear of the unknown. Okay, this looks like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Okay, so what if it does? Right? What's the worst thing? What's the best thing? Don't be afraid of that. Fear of rejection. Will I be good enough? What will people think of me? Will I be embarrassed? All of those things are things that every person, anyone who's written a book, anyone who's, started a business, any number of things, any dream that you go after, those are all risks. And 9 times out of 10, those are things that we end up not having to be concerned about. And first of all, as far as being, wondering if you're good enough, we're all good enough. We all have wonderful gifts and talents. We talked about that in week 1 of the T's. God made us unique, and he put wonderful things inside of us. It's up to us to hone those and to develop them. But we all have, things in us that are to be shared with whoever God puts in our circle. And then fear of the future. So here's a funny twist on fear. That's a fear of what if I succeed, right? What if this little idea I have, or this little goal or whatever, really does something and it's successful, and then what? What will I be able to do that? Well, here's what I've come to learn about that, is that as you start out, probably not. You probably can't handle what you're afraid of down the road. But as you walk through it, as you grow, as you develop, as things move forward, you gain the skills, the confidence, and everything else that you need to handle what will come. So we don't really need to worry about that in the beginning. We need to look at what's step 1, what's step 2, and so on and so forth. So something that I've learned also is that fear subtracts from your life by causing us to shrink back. So being afraid for whatever reason will cause us to shrink back and never really become the person that we were designed to become. While faith expands your life by causing you to step out of your comfort zone and live the life that you dream of. And if you run from fear now, you will be running from fear for the rest of your life. So, is that something you want to do? No. It's not something I want to do. And just because you conquer fear in one area doesn't mean it's not going to pop up somewhere else. But if you have the tools in your toolbox, which I'm going to share with you right now, if you have the tools in your toolbox, then you know how to deal with fear, and you're going to be equipped so that each time it pops up, you're going to more quickly and efficiently be able to put it in its place and move past it. And I know that because I've done it over and over and over. I did a meeting yesterday, and it was for men, and one of them was amazed that one of the tools that I told them to put into place actually worked. He said, I was skeptical, but I tried it now for 2 weeks and it worked. And I said to him what I'll say to you now: I would never waste your time or mine just sitting here talking about things that don't work. They work if we work them. So rest assured that everything that I'm going to share with you does work, but we have to put it into action. So these are tried and true things that I have done time after time after time after time, and they really do work. So I can confidently and passionately help other people with the same things that I've dealt with because I know these things work. So there's 20 things, and I don't want to take up the entire afternoon sharing these, so I'm going to go through them quickly, but I will probably, try to prepare a PDF that I'll post on my business page, and where you're at now, Kathleen Ellis Lifestyle Design, that will have these in there for you. So look for that in a link, probably in the next day or two. My assistant's on vacation, so but I'll try to get these together for you because they really do work, and they aren't necessarily in any particular order except for number 1, but they will help you. So 20 things you can do today to banish fear. So the first thing to do that I do personally is I pray. When I ask God to help me to see things the way that He sees them, I can oftentimes step back and say, okay, so take a deep breath. There's not anything to be afraid of. So, number 2, control your thoughts and your words and stop saying, I'm afraid. The more you say those words, I'm afraid, the more afraid you'll become. That's just how it works. So change the words that you're saying. So instead of saying, I'm afraid, say, I believe that I will, or I can, or I am doing this. I'm well able to do this. Change it to something positive. So that your brain is hearing something different than what your emotions are telling you. And then eventually that will be the truth. So share your fear with someone you trust. Sometimes just sharing it with someone that cares about you, that wants to see you see your dreams happen, that person will encourage you, and they may even remind you of times that you've overcome other things related to that will give you confidence. Find others who are doing their dreams and overcoming fear. Again, I have lots of mentors that have been in the places that I've been. They've overcome things. They're in places where I would like to go to, and I can watch and see what they've overcome to get there. Identify your fear. Sometimes fear, without being identified, it just kind of wreaks havoc. But if you can nail it down and identify it, you will probably be able to look at it and say, well, that doesn't really seem like anything significant to be afraid of. it can put it in better perspective. Determine whether or not your fear has any merit. I mean, is it realistic or is it not? Ask yourself, have other people done this? And if so, what am I afraid of? Kind of goes with the same, determine if your fear has any merit. Realize that most things that you fear will never happen. Okay? So make a list maybe of them and move forward anyway, and then go back and look at that list. And I have done this, and 9 times out of 10, those things never happened. So I was wasting energy on that fear of those things, and they never even happened, never even came close to happening. Build up your faith, not your fear. Fear will control your life. Faith will guide your life. Faith builds you up, and fear tears you apart. You know, you've seen those shirts or those things of faith over fear. So fear is basically negative faith, believing that things will go wrong or won't happen. Faith is believing that things will go right and they will happen. Okay, number 10 is do something. So a lot of times action, when we start doing something instead of thinking about what we're going to do, we create a baby step that we can move forward. Just doing something will eliminate that fear, whatever that was. List the pros and cons, the worst case scenario. I've done this so many times. Okay, so what's the worst thing that can happen? When I opened, I had an interior design business, and I decided I wanted to open a beautiful lifestyle store. So that was a scary process. There was a lot involved. And I wrote down the pros and cons. So what was the worst thing that could happen, and what were all the other things that could happen? And I decided that I could live with the worst thing, and I really wanted to live with the best things. And some of them were, some were on my dream list, being featured in Romantic Homes magazine. Not only featured, but I made 2 covers. And I was the lifestyle expert on our local CBS TV station on the weekends. So things like that. Had I decided that, you know, I was afraid to step out, I never would have experienced those things that were on my dream list. Remember your past victories. Revisit times when you succeeded at something that you thought you could not do, or something that seemed scary. When you do that, you'll remind yourself that, hey, you know what? If I could do that, I can do this. Number 13, learn, build your knowledge. When you know your stuff, it builds confidence. So these 13 things that I listed here, they cover faith, they cover confidence. The next page is going to cover overwhelm and vision and confidence. So I hope that you're seeing how dealing with your fear also can help deal with the vision part, the confidence part, and what's the other one? Overwhelm. The overwhelm part. Okay. So 14 is prepare. Make a plan of action and break it down. 15, take one step at a time and do one thing you're afraid to do. So that is the overwhelm. When you have this big thing or multiple things, like Regina and I oftentimes, it just can seem overwhelming that, like, what do I do first? So here's what I do. I take a piece of paper and I just do a brain dump. I just throw everything out there, and then I start to categorize it into the different categories. What makes sense for this? What makes sense for that? And then I prioritize. Okay, what would be the first thing I should do? What would be the second thing? Is that first thing too big? If it's too big, how many steps do I need to break it down into to make it manageable? So taking that great big huge thing that you're afraid that you can't do, that's overwhelming you, and breaking it down into as small a step as you know, it can be one little thing, like a phone call. Just do that one little thing, and then figure out what's the next little thing. What's the next little thing? Then you start to build that momentum. Keep your eyes on your path and the prize, not on the obstacles and the fear. So that's your vision. If you don't have a clear vision of where you're going, and it's really embedded up here, You've maybe got a vision board, you have a vision book. If you're not looking at that all the time, then we tend to forget what and why, what it is and why we're doing it. So it's important to keep that in front of you. Keep your eyes on what that vision is, what that prize is, what that reward is. Celebrate your progress along the way. So here's a way that you can build yourself up each time you tackle something that you were afraid to do or that overwhelmed you. Then reward yourself and make it memorable that, you know what, I thought I couldn't do this, or I've been procrastinating on this and I did it. So yay me, I'm going to treat myself to something. Write your own personal positive confessions or affirmations and read them aloud every day. This is how we reprogram our minds. So this is how we reprogram fear into faith. This is how we program confidence into our mindset. Spend time imagining how good it will feel once you've done what you're afraid of. So again, it's that vision, creating that vision, and actually allowing yourself to feel the feelings of excitement, exhilaration, maybe unbelief that you actually did it. But any of those things, just spend a little time imagining that and realizing that's what Olympic medal winners do. If you ask them, were you surprised that you won, whatever it is? I don't watch the Olympics, but I do listen to their stories. Were you surprised? Or even a pageant winner. Oftentimes they'll say, no, it's exactly what I dreamed of. So how many times have we gotten so clear and rehearsed so many times in our mind what we're dreaming of, that when it happens, it's exactly what we thought, and we're not surprised. So those are 20 things, believe it or not, real quick. And I will get those out somehow to you, that cover confidence, faith over fear, overwhelm, and why can't I remember that other one? Lack of vision, overwhelm, lack of faith, and fear. So fear kind of overshadows a lot of those things. So I would say, pick one of those things and do it, and then do another thing. It doesn't matter how small it is, like I said, just that you're doing it, that you're putting it into action, that you are making progress. That in itself will give you confidence, but you really have to start with your vision. Take some time to select the steps that you're going to take action on. Fear will conquer faith. Faith will conquer fear every time. Faith will conquer fear every time. So I wanted to read something to you here. Whether you live in fear or faith is up to you. So we each get to choose, right? Nobody gets to force that on us unless we give them permission to do that. It's determined, whether you live in fear or faith is up to you. It's determined by which one you feed, what you listen to, watch, and read, who you allow to have access to your mind. So who or what you listen to, what you watch, who you surround yourself with. If you feed fear, you will become fear-filled. If you feed faith, you will become faith-filled. Really, the choice is up to you. And the bottom line is what you feed it. Makes sense, right? So ask yourself, what would you do if you knew you could not fail, right? So failure is not an option. You had an unlimited amount of resources. You knew you could take as much time as you needed. It is better to have a deadline, but don't impose that on yourself when you're dreaming of this. You knew everything else would be okay. You didn't have to worry about anything else, falling behind or anything like that. Then what is it that you would do right now? If you knew You could not fail. You had an unlimited amount of resources. You could take as much time as you needed. Everything else would be okay. What would that be? What would that be? Whatever that is it a burning desire, a passion, or just a nice idea? If it's a burning desire or a passion, then why are you not pursuing it? And what are you going to do to pursue it? Are you going to stretch out of your comfort zone for those dreams that are just outside there? Are you going to change something? Are you going to do something? Those are all questions that we all need to ask. I am in that process myself right now. I am in that process of changing a lot of things that I'm doing, changing the way I think about certain things, my habits, my routines, so many things in order to go to the next level of the dreams that I have and the things that I want to accomplish. I'm 61 years old. Okay, it's not like I'm 30 or 35 or 40 or 45. 61. So I'm saying, hey, you know what, girl? You got to step up the pace here. And there's so many things that I know that I've not accomplished yet that I want to accomplish. Is it the same way for you? Are you in that same place? What do you need to do? That one little thing, that one step, what do you need to do to just put that toe outside the comfort zone? When you figure that out, take the time to think of it, and it has to be just a simple little thing, and do it. Then the next step will come, and the next step will come, and the next step will come. So you'll be able to get out of your comfort zone. You'll be able to go to that next level, and then you'll be able to say, hey, look at me. I did it. I did it. And then you have to be aware of the next comfort zone because it's an endless process. So ladies and gentlemen, if there's any men on, sometimes my son and my husband pop on. They're both away doing things with appointments today, so they might not be on. But I just want to, once again, thank you so much. Trying to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope that this inspired you and encouraged you. I would love to hear from you in the comments or message me. If there's something in particular that really struck a note with you, I would love to hear about it. I love to hear what's challenging you, what you've overcome, maybe what your dream is, and what direction you're going in. I can be your cheerleader and encourager. So that's my passion, to serve you in that way. And I would ask, if you enjoyed this, then please share it with your friends. I would love to be able to encourage and inspire them as well. If you missed any of the previous, there's been 2 previous teas. They're on the page also. You can watch a recording, and they're on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And don't forget to get your download with your notes, and just enjoy that, those encouragement and the encouragement and inspiration, and let it speak to you and help you to stretch and grow and go for your dreams. What are you waiting for, right? I got tired of waiting and dragging my feet. So, and if you enjoyed this, like I said, share it with your friends. And next Thursday, I'll be back here, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I know I had a few people inquire about time conversions here from Africa and the West Coast, and also I hope they were able to make it on. And again, like I said, I would love to hear from you in the comments. That's how I know you're here, and I can appreciate you. And if you have any questions also, please pop those in, and I will do my best to answer them. Nothing works if you're not quite sure what it meant or how it's supposed to work. So pop in there with that as well. And again, thank you so much. I so much appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to do life with me sip by sip rather than gulp by gulp, and be encouraged and inspired. And it's Thursday, so that means the weekend's coming. So happy weekend, and love you, and I will see you next week.